and welcome to another episode of This is Rico trying to heal my inner child. I am Rico, and I would like to remind everyone that I am not a doctor, I am not a therapist, and I am not a medical professional in any way. Just a regular person trying to navigate through life, try to navigate what's going on here. There's a whole lot still. I've come a long way, but I have a long way to go. And I just wanted to mention that usually whenever I do an episode, I like to take notes. I like to write notes down and, get the material together that I want to talk about. But last night I just started writing, and I wrote 15 pages. So I have plenty of material for a few episodes. And I did focus on all of the jobs that I've had in the past and my experiences with those jobs and those people. But those are other episodes. This episode, I wanted to get back to my young family in our house, get back to my marriage as it started to deteriorate. This is a few years later after the last episode of talking about things. And to be quite honest, things never really got better. They never really improved. They never seemed to just go anywhere. Just kind of seemed to stay the same all the time. But at the time, we were attending a local church. And I think you all know what my feelings are on religion and churches. And I don't do that stuff anymore. I don't believe in that stuff anymore. I don't discourage anyone else. If it works for you, then that's great. It doesn't work for me. And that's all I'm going to say about that. But we decided to go through some couples counseling through that church. So we met with the one pastor, and we had a few meetings and talked about things and talked about our life and our experiences. But it was a mistake because all they wanted to do was focus on scripture. They didn't want to focus on our lives, really. They didn't want to focus on us as people. They wanted to tell us what the Bible says and what the Bible thinks we should do. And in my opinion, and again, if it works for someone else, I painted my nails, by the way. But if it works for someone else, that's great. But it didn't work for us. All it did was make things worse. It just never really got to the bottom of the problems. It was never in our best interest. It was just them telling us what the Bible says we should do. And again, that doesn't work for me. That doesn't work for me at all. And we tried and tried, but it was unsuccessful. So we decided to separate for a short period of time. We just decided to, get away from each other for a little bit and, reevaluate our lives. At that time, I decided to move out. And I wasn't sure where to go. I just didn't know where to go. But at that time, my two brothers and my cousin were all sharing a house, and it was literally walking distance from my house. So I asked them if I could stay with them for a little while. Just a little while. Just bring a few things and just get out of that house and, get away. And they let me in. They let me stay there. I should mention that they were the types to enjoy it when I would go to their house, but they never came to visit me. So they were very self-centered, pretty much just like my dad was or is. And they agreed. They let me move in. But it wasn't an easy time at all. But I'm going to take a real quick break, and I'll be right back with a little more of This is Rico trying to heal my inner child. welcome back to This is Rico, trying to heal my inner child. Getting back to the topic of our separation. I should also mention that at this time I was playing in a band, and actually I was playing in two bands, and it was the same group of guys, and we had an original band and we had a tribute band. So, and they were out of Hammond. So I would go and practice every Sunday with those guys, and it was nice to get out of the house and go hang out with somebody else, go somewhere else and just get away. But getting back to my moving in with my brothers. I moved in with them for a little while. But to be quite honest, they were all drunks. They were obnoxious. They were rude. They didn't want to clean. They wanted to just be sarcastic and talk crap about each other all the time. And then the more they would drink, the more angry they would get. And then they would start fighting. And it was dumb. The young one, he would just get totally drunk. And then he would just turn into the meanest a-hole you've ever known. And that happened every night. I was supposed to stay in his room, but he got mad over something dumb. It wasn't even something that I did. And he took all my stuff and took it out of the room. And I didn't want you in my room. Just because he could. The older one, he was very, very passive aggressive. He would just make comments. Oh, we like it like this. Like he didn't want me moving stuff or rearranging stuff or doing anything. He just wanted to tell me that it was going to stay like it is no matter what, because he could. Just because he could. My cousin was okay, but the three of them together just made things horrible. Drinking every night. And I was drinking at the time as well, but not like them. And I didn't like being around that at all. I didn't like it. I did not like it. And there were times where I would start cleaning because they didn't. They just didn't at all. And then they wanted to call me their bitch. And they wanted to act like I was doing women's work. And they wanted to act like I was their servant and their slave. And they wanted to act like, make fun of me for it. For cleaning. I ran the vacuum and, oh, you're a bitch. No, I'm cleaning because I'm tired of living in a pigsty. But they did it because they could. And that's a recurring theme of my life, is somebody treating me like garbage just because they could. And, they were obnoxious. The younger one had no filter, so he would just say whatever, no matter how rude, no matter how hurtful, no matter how insensitive it was. They were always at the bar, and they were always arguing over stupid stuff, so I couldn't take it anymore. I just could not take it. I could not take it being there. So I asked my parents if I could stay with them. Now, originally, they told me no. But I was desperate. I needed to go somewhere. And I had no money. I had nothing to provide, really. So they begrudgingly let me stay with them. So I stayed in the basement. And to be quite honest, it was another mistake. Another mistake. In hindsight, I should not have done it, and it was probably one of the worst things I've ever done. Because I had to relive much of those feelings from my childhood all over again. But I'm going to get to that in the next segment. And I'm going to take a real quick break, and I'll be back with some more of This is Rico, trying to heal my inner child. Welcome back to This is Rico, trying to heal my inner child. I'd like to get back to the topic of the separation with my marriage at the time, how I stayed with my brothers, and it was just a horrible experience. So I moved in with my parents, which was equally as horrible. It was nice of them to let me come back and stay in the house. I brought my dog Charlie with me at the time because my ex was just insistent that I took him because she threatened to take him to animal control or humane society if I left him in the house. She was just gonna surrender him to whoever. She didn't care. She never cared about our pets. She really didn't. Anytime, like I mentioned before, if she got frustrated with them, she'd always joke about taking off their collars and letting them go. And that that was quite hurtful. It was unnecessary. It was rude. But there was always those little threats of taking something away. Something that I loved was going to go away. But getting back to my parents, moving in with them, it was like I was 15 years old again. And they treated me like I was a dumb kid. It was so easy for them to get right back into their mode of treating me like I was just dumb. One of my theories on my parents is they didn't teach me much so that they would have some sort of superior edge over me. Or it was a way of them to hold on to their usefulness. I worked at one job where there was one person in the whole company that had access to something, specific. And I think that was their way of holding on to their usefulness. If I'm the only one that knows about this and they can't fire me, that kind of thinking. And my parents had the thinking of, well, if you're just really dumb and I have to teach you stuff even when you're 35 years old, then I'm still useful. And I still hold something above you. I hold something over you. So we were back to that. Back to me being a dumb kid. Anytime I would want to go out, my dad would start asking me all kinds of questions. And it always started with, where do you think you're going? Where do you think you're going? Like I wasn't allowed to go out. I was 35 years old. And he wanted to treat me like I wasn't allowed to go out. Like I had to get his permission. I had to ask him first. And that was frustrating. I'm an adult. I have my own house. I'm just going through problems and I need some help. And you're going to treat me like a dumb kid. And you're going to talk to me like I'm a dumb kid. I was reliving it all over again. But at the time, I didn't realize it. At the time, I thought that stuff was normal. I thought everybody treated everybody like that. And so I just rolled with the punches. My problem with rolling with the punches is it would be much better if there were no punches. You shouldn't have to roll with punches. There should be no punches at all. Not in a situation like this. But in this particular situation, there were plenty of punches. It was bad enough dealing with that the first time, as a child, as a teenager. But now, I'm an adult, and they're doing it to me again. It was horrible. I hated every second of it. They gave me a hard time for using utilities if I had the TV on. My dad would always come downstairs into my room just to see what I was doing, just to supervise, just to make sure I wasn't doing anything dumb. He would just kind of walk in and just kind of tell me this or that. I bought myself a set of turntables for fun, DJ turntables. And I brought them home. I was so excited and I set them up and he just stood there watching me. And then eventually asked, what do I need those for? What do I need those for? But I'm going to take a quick break and I'll be back with some more of This is Rico trying to heal my inner child. Welcome back to This is Rico, trying to heal my inner child. I'd like to get right back to the topic of moving in with my parents um, and being treated like a dumb kid, being treated like I was imposing and then I was intruding, being treated like I was a burden and just being always in their way. I moved my stuff into the big room in the basement where I had my bedroom when I was young, but he had moved his bar. He had a bar. And let me just say, he had a bar and a pool table, and I think he was more proud of that than he ever was of me. He loved his pool table when his friends would come over and he would play pool, and that was everything to him. His house, his property, his stuff, all of it. It was that was more important to him than any of us. And when I moved into that room, I mentioned before, I bought some turntables, I brought them home, I set them up. I was so excited, and he just scoffed at all of it. What do I need these turntables for? And it wasn't for him, but in his mind, everything was for him in that house and everything. He had his he was very territorial, and his house was his house, and you had to abide by his rules and do what he says because he's the king. And speaking of the bar he had moved the bar into the big room where I was going to set up my where I was going to live for a little while. And when I set up those turntables, I put them next to the bar, and he starts telling me, "You might want to move these in case someone wants to sit here." So he wanted me to save space for an imaginary visitor, for someone who's not even there, for someone who might come over. That's how it was. I was expected to hold place for a maybe instead of just letting me have some space. And let me say, I moved that bar. I picked it up and I carried it and I put it in a different room because I was tired of that. I was tired of the attitude. I was tired of him coming down and checking on me. And my mom was a little better, but not really. Not really. She would come downstairs and tell me what channel to put my TV on because it was hot upstairs because we had no air conditioning in that stupid house. And then I would tell her, I'm watching that. And she would just say, no, shut up. You're not watching it. And make me put on her stupid telenovelas, her stupid Mexican soap operas. And they just didn't care. I was there for them. And that's how they took it. And that's how they took all of it. And it was very frustrating. It was very frustrating to deal with that. It was very frustrating and discouraging. Um, and I didn't know what to do. I felt like I was stuck. I felt like I couldn't go anywhere. Now, I will say, luckily, in the very, very near future, I would have somewhere to go. But at the time, I was just feeling lost. I couldn't talk to them about anything without them criticizing or complaining or just making fun of me with everything. With everything. Plus, not to mention the fact that I'm in their house, so they have that power over me. They can tell me what to do. They can tell me how to do it. They can tell me this is my house. They can tell me all of that just because they could. And it was quite honestly the beginning of the deterioration of my relationship with my parents. That's where the cracks really, really started to show. I never really paid attention to it before, but it was now becoming evident. Now that I was a little older, I was starting to see, and I wish it hadn't taken me so long, but it did. But I was starting to see their true selves, and they were exposing their true selves, and they've never really changed. I just always gave them the benefit of the doubt, and I guess assumed things were like that normally, but they weren't. But I thought they were, and now I'm realizing that they're not supposed to be like that, but they were, and it were really, 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 really started to deteriorate our relationship, at least from my side. Honestly, I don't think they saw any of that because they were unwilling to see from anyone else's point of view. It was all about them. It was all about them and how they felt and what they wanted and what they needed. And they made me feel like I was just in their way. I was taking advantage when all I needed was a little bit of help. And they made me feel less than zero. Nothing I did was good enough. One time it was hot, very hot, and I was moving furniture at the time. So I drove around with my car to cool off with the air conditioning because there was no air conditioning in that stupid house because he liked it that way. He didn't care about anybody else. He liked it that way. He didn't care if everybody else was suffering, like my mom or me. He didn't care. He didn't care at all. He was proud of himself for it, in fact. Excuse me. But I had gone for a drive and I went home and I told him that. Yeah, I went for a drive because it was hot and I was using my air conditioning. And he leans forward and says to me, "You mean to tell me you're driving around when gas is $4 a gallon?" And I looked him in the eyes and I said, "You know what? I paid for that gas. I worked for the money and I paid for it. That's my gas. I'll do whatever I want with it." And he got mad. He got mad at me for standing up for myself. In fact, he told my mom to come tell me, "You shouldn't say stuff like that to your father." Instead of just, no, he just wanted to tell me, he wanted to talk at me. He didn't want to listen. He didn't want to consider anything. He just wanted to tell me how dumb I was. And that's all he wanted to do. And when I stood up for myself, he did not like it. And the entire time I was there, it was trauma all over again. It was for a second time. It shook me. I was feeling quite broken at the time. And, it that's when intrusive thoughts start kicking in. Like, what am I doing here? Why am I here? So I'm going to conclude this video because I have a lot more material to get through. In fact, this video is going to be a little bit longer than normal, but that's okay. So I will be back very, very soon with another video and some more of This is Rico trying to heal my inner child. Please hit that like, share, and subscribe, and help me get my word out to more people. I thank you all. I love you all. And I thank you for your support. And I thank you for being here with me throughout all of this. I am Rico, and I thank you. And I will be back with another video very soon. Thanks.